Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great having you on the channel today. We're going to be watching Invest 91L. This could make major implications to the Eastern Caribbean islands here, the Lesser Antilles, Leeward Islands, up through Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. We're going to have to watch this very closely as we may have a hurricane developing for these areas. And where does it go beyond there? There's many solutions taking it towards Florida, the Eastern Gulf, up the East Coast, or out to sea with the latest solution. We'll take a look at all the details and another storm that could be forming just behind that. Let's get into it. And we're going to take a look and see just how this latest run compares to the previous run. Previous run was much further west, targeting Florida as a hurricane and skimming right up the U.S. East Coast. All right, so looking at the infrared satellite view of Invest 91L, here it is, that explosion of showers and thunderstorms. We also have another tropical wave out ahead of it. That's going to be heading towards Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, and Barbados over the next couple days out ahead of it. Look at this strong tropical wave just behind it. Here's the Cape Verde Islands, by the way. We have an upper level low out here spinning just southeast of Bermuda. And as we go over here into the Caribbean, you can see some showers and thunderstorms moving through St. Lucia here, Martinique. Also, look at this around Jamaica and Dominican Republic, some showers and thunderstorms. All right, so we're starting off with the GFS, and then I'll show you the European model in several minutes from now. You can make out our Invest 91L right here. Also, another strong tropical wave behind it. If we go across Central Africa, you can see them just lining up here, just east of Cape Verde Islands. You can see them just lining up here across Central Africa. So there you have it. Our area of concern here into the red through Saturday into Sunday. So we get into the 7th and then to the 8th. GFS is developing this pretty quickly. You can see we're likely going to have a tropical storm by the weekend and a hurricane by the middle of next week, if not sooner. This latest run of the GFS taking this really far to the south. You can see we're just on the southern end of guidance here in concern, forming an eye there on the 10th. So things are going to get interesting here. It looks like a pretty compact system. You see on the 10th, it's approaching parts of Martinique, St. Lucia. Don't focus on the landfall or the eye too much because this is likely to wobble over the next several days. But this is really ominous. You know, moving right through the central Lesser Antilles here, right through Martinique and Dominica here, just south of Guadeloupe and St. Kitts and Nevis here. And there's St. Croix. So this would be in response to circling around this subtropical high out by the Azores you can see out here. So kind of running out of runway, so to speak, so it kind of arcs a little bit towards the north. It's also in response to this trough that's just hanging out here off the southeast coast and meandering down through the Bahamas and the northwest Caribbean. So this is the latest solution on the GFS. I want to make note that the GFS is showing another tropical storm trying to form behind it and another very strong tropical wave. So if this scenario pans out, we could have a hurricane moving into the Eastern Caribbean for a time. Look at Puerto Rico. This would be a bad hit for you as well. But I do caution you because this has been flip-flopping back and forth. The margin of error this far out is huge. I mean, it is really huge. So as we get through September 14th here, you see we have there's that second tropical system right on the heels of this. Now, what's going to happen with this trough? The GFS is having a little bit of a hard time with this, as is the Euro. So this trough continues to weaken and wash out through the 15th here. So ultimately, what does this mean? It's kind of pushing up along the southern end of this trough. This second system is also kind of doing the same. It's moving as this high pressure moves to the northeast. It's kind of recurving at this point. So the European's quite a bit different than this. I'm going to show you that in a couple minutes from now. But here it is on the 17th. You can see this run has it missing Florida, whereas the previous run had it going right in near Florida. So here's Bermuda out here. This would be another devastating hit to Bermuda. And look at this. This would be a good case scenario here with bringing this storm out over the North Atlantic, but I do caution you because it wasn't just about a couple days ago we were showing this, and then it flipped further west and south, and then this system behind it, you can see just on the heels. Very interesting, though, that this latest run, this 18Z run, has us deflecting this completely out to sea. That would be some good news. However, let's just take a look through the rest of this forecast. As you can see across the Caribbean here, we have some showers and thunderstorm action through Jamaica, the Cayman Islands. That does start to fizzle out through the 7th into the 8th. Dominican Republic, we have some showers. This is a pretty interesting tropical wave moving through. We'll have to watch this for Jamaica right around September 10th here. And here's our first system, most likely Hurricane Gabrielle by this point. So we'll keep an eye on it here. There is a lot of possible solutions. The European, I'm going to give you a hint here in a couple minutes. It's further south. So that is an interesting solution. This run of the GFS is a little bit further to the right than the previous run. And there's that system behind it. You see through the 17th, 18th. Look at the Gulf through this time. There is an area of low pressure trying to spin up here off the southern end. That's something we have to keep a very close watch on. Here is that area of low pressure off the southeast coast as well as this trough kind of washes out. And look at back behind it here, this last frame. You can see we have some tropical waves out here still to watch. So this is looking very active. I want to take a look at the previous GFS run here. Let's look at that. All right, so as we put this into motion, this would be the earlier in the day. This is the one that's been going, cranking for the last 24 to 36 hours. This is the one that it continued to bounce it through the northern Lesser Antilles, just east of Puerto Rico through the 14th and 15th. This is the one that was bringing it right into South Florida and potentially skimming just slightly into the Eastern Gulf and then right up the East Coast like this. So this is why I caution you this far out. We can't go definitively with any of these solutions because we have such a huge margin of error here. So that's why we're going to take a look at the European model now. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits for our European model analysis. Here is our Invest 91L system right out here in the center of the MDR. Here's the Cape Verde Islands. So you get a little bit of perspective here. So as we go in time, we had a strong two tropical waves behind it here that we'll have to watch as well. But here we go. The Euro's keeping this weaker. And as we head through Tuesday, September 9th here, this looks like a hit, at least at this time, through the central Lesser Antilles. Now, the European model is showing conditions a little less favorable in this area, so we'll have to watch it. It's holding on through September 12th here as it approaches Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, these areas. I'll zoom in on this momentarily. I just wanted to show you the big picture here on the European model first. There's that frontal boundary to the north. Here's those tropical waves just lining up, one right after another. There's one right over the Cape Verde Islands that could try to develop as well. But you get the idea. There's that system moving through Jamaica. Whether it's a tropical storm or hurricane by this point remains to be seen. The European model continuing to slowly weaken it. It kind of weakens it into a remnant low at this point. Kind of skeptical on this because it would have to be tremendous wind shear and some dry air to really infiltrate this system. So here it is. It's moving through Jamaica on September 14th. A lot can change between now and then. But here it is. Regardless of what happens, at least on this run, you can see massive tropical moisture camping out across the southeastern part of the U.S. up through the Bahamas. So something's going to organize in here. Look at behind it. Very strong tropical wave trying to form into a tropical storm right around September 19th. Another one trying to form behind it, and another one moving off the coast. You get the idea. All right, so zooming in on the Caribbean here. There's all those showers and thunder showers around the Bahamas, South Florida here. You see through the Lesser Antilles, all the way from Trinidad, Tobago, northward through Friday into Saturday here. This one's just south of Jamaica and Dominican Republic. Look at this, right through Saturday. Some heavy rains moving to the northeast here with this little wave. Another one moving through the Lesser Antilles. Showers targeting Jamaica later in the weekend here through Nicaragua as well. So we have a lot of moisture. There's that old frontal boundary just snaking its way across the Gulf off the southeast coast as well. So here's our system. as we get through next Tuesday and Wednesday, September 10th here. There it is, moving through the Lesser Antilles right around late the 10th into early the 11th. At least on the European, it's shown as a tropical storm. And moving right through Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, I can start to see why the Euro model has backed off on intensity, because it's literally taking it right over the island of Hispaniola, right around Haiti. And those higher mountains, those really big, huge ridge tops, can really do a number on a tropical system. If it stays further south or north, it would have much better chance to continue and redevelop. So here it is. By September 16th, we're showing all its moisture conglomerated from Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Cuba, all the way through the western Bahamas and up through Florida and Georgia and eventually South Carolina. And then look at this. This is a massive tropical wave approaching just northeast of the Lesser Antilles and Virgin Islands, potentially developing into a tropical storm by this point. Plenty of time to watch that as well. And a big tropical wave moving right in line here with Trinidad and Tobago. Look at this. I want to show you something, this last frame. Look at the surge of tropical moisture. It goes right through Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, northward up the U.S. East Coast. So Invest 91L, this is what the models are projecting. Look at this, all the way through tropical storm in just a couple days here, probably 2-3 days tops. We make it to Category 1, Category 2 hurricane within less than a week here. So look at some of these models taking it up towards a Category 3. Would not be surprised if this overshoots. Sea surface temperature analysis, where Invest 91L goes. Look at this water. This is some tremendously warm water, even up here towards Bermuda. We just have some upwelling along the U.S. East Coast from what was left of Aaron. So, yeah, there is a lot of warm water ahead of this. The only thing that could cause problems, like I said, is potentially the island of Hispaniola, the higher mountaintops, if it goes right over that. And we will have some potential, wind shear and some dry air as well. And the Western Caribbean here, Central America. Yeah, look at this. So initially through the weekend, basically Nicaragua, Honduras here, 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 millimeters here. Jamaica about the same. Dominican Republic, pretty much evenly distributed here. Where the things really start to change is right around the middle part of September here. Look at this. Yeah, so we see those tropical waves, potential tropical system coming in. That's where we'll see the potential for heavier rain, not just in Central America, southern Belize, upwards of 133 millimeters, northern Honduras as well, Nicaragua here, and all the way up to Cancun, right around, 80 millimeters. Cayman Islands moistening up a bit, near 40 to 60 millimeters. Look at this. Parts of Jamaica upwards of 100 millimeters. Same for Dominican Republic here. Puerto Rico, you're looking at right around 70, 80 millimeters. That is right around the 2.5 to 3 inch range. And look at over GFS here. Look at this. So Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica in particular, through next Friday. Look at that. Now, yeah, if something happens here with potential Gabrielle moving through Puerto Rico, you could be seeing 7, maybe 8, 9 inches of rain here. That's over 300 millimeters. Look at that. That would be crazy. Also, look at Honduras. Some areas upwards of 300 millimeters. Southern Belize upwards of 200. Look at Jamaica, 169 millimeters. Yeah, this could be pretty big. Look at west central part of Dominican Republic, over 300 millimeters. And looking at the European model for the Eastern Caribbean, there is our potential tropical system as it moves through the Central Lesser Antilles, at least on this European run, and then progressing towards Jamaica. So this could be a big rainmaker. It is a pretty fast mover. So, most areas staying right around 120, maybe as much as 150 millimeters. But there will be some wobbles back and forth depending on where the storm moves. So take these rainfall amounts a little bit with a grain of salt. You do know where this potential hurricane does move. The rainfall will solidify much more greater than it will on the north and south ends of this. So here we go. Right through the Central Lesser Antilles on this. We'll see what the runs have over the next couple days. And getting into the Western Atlantic, Eastern Caribbean, yeah, if the latest run of the GFS holds true, this would be a tremendous amount of rain here, right through the Central Lesser Antilles, the Leeward Islands here. Look at this. 300 millimeters, not out of the question. Here's St. Croix, 400 millimeters. That would be over like 7, 8, 9, 10 plus inches easily with a hurricane like this. All right, our HRRR future radar as we continue cruising through the rest of your Thursday evening and Thursday night here. So look at this. Yeah, through 9, 10 p.m., lots of showers and thunderstorms across the Catskills, Poconos, Hudson Valley region. Some big gully washers here. This is a 1 a.m. moving right through Poughkeepsie, Albany area. Look at the eastern Catskills here as well. So New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, finally moving east throughout the night and weakening. So what do we got? Oh, look at South Florida here. This will bubble up through 11 a.m. on Friday morning. You can see all that tropical moisture. And look at this, massive low pressure up here, bombing out across Ontario. Doesn't look like we'll see any thunder showers until closer. Look at this. This initiates over southern Ohio, right around the 9, 10 p.m. time frame of Friday night. A few showers spinning up across western Pennsylvania, western New York as well. Look at South Florida, really socked in. And look at this. This is going to be the start of a very, very wet weekend here across the interior Northeast. We get this conveyor belt of moisture. This is 7 a.m. Saturday morning. It doesn't look too bad. It looks pretty benign, but look how it starts to develop. This is our last frame of our future radar, 2 p.m. This really starts to fill in, and it will start to develop. Look at these strong storms up in northern Maine. Severe weather outlook for your Friday, TGIF. There's a slight risk across southern parts of Ohio, much of central Kentucky, and north central part of Tennessee. Now, outside that, the darker green, that's a marginal risk from Pittsburgh all the way down to Dallas-Fort Worth. And getting right on into your Saturday here, look at this. Parts of the Mid-Atlantic, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, down to D.C., and these areas around Richmond and Raleigh-Durham area. So watch out. Isolated severe weather, damaging wind, large hail. And picking up where our future radar left off with the GFS model. Yeah, as we head into the weekend, what's left of our tropical storm over here in the Pacific is going to be heading right across Texas. Lorena, some moisture, just to give you a heads up here for Texas, that's going to be heading towards the northeast and looking up the east coast. So if we back this up to Saturday, there's that wave of low pressure, mainly in the interior northeast. It's going to be a rainy, stormy day. And then we get into Saturday night. Now look at here, 11 p.m. There's Saturday night. Another surge of moisture on the east side. That continues to trail up just off the Outer Banks through this point. So, yeah, then we get into middle of next week. We get that wave of low pressure kicking up the coast. Look at that. It's like a little mini nor'easter, so to speak. Really inundates Nova Scotia here, so we'll keep an eye on it. High pressure building in rapidly behind it. All eyes are going to be on what's going to be happening with potential Gabrielle here, major hurricane by this point. And what will happen with it all depends on this trough in this high pressure system out here. So we'll keep an eye on the East Coast, the Eastern Gulf, the Caribbean as well. There you have it. If all goes to this solution by the 20th, we could have extremely quiet weather across North America. And here we are picking up where our future radar left off. You can see the European model into the weekend. That wave of low pressure starting out Saturday. There it is, solidifying during the early afternoon hours. Look at that convection. Eastern Pennsylvania up through the southern tier of New York, the Catskills, Hudson Valley, all the way up towards northern New England. And there's another surge of low pressure Saturday night. So it's going to be a very rainy first half of the weekend as that these double barrel low essentially heads up through the interior parts of the Northeast. That clears out for Sunday and Monday, so things will dry out. Florida, you're not going to be drying out. Look at this. Lots of moisture focused around this old front that we'll have to keep an eye on because the Gulf still has not seen a tropical system in quite some time here. It's continuing to heat up, so you have to think that something's going to give one of these days here. High pressure stubborn across the Great Lakes. Look at this through September 13th. Really camping out across the Northeast here, so you get the idea. And as we continue through Monday the 15th, there's that surge of tropical moisture as we get into the southeastern part of the United States here. So look at this. This actually is from what I can tell, what's left of our potential tropical system. It's amazing the European has backed off quite a bit on this, so to speak, and kind of pushes it into a remnant low with surging moisture along the East Coast through September 19th. And here we go nationally for our rainfall amounts for the European run. Yeah, this is Saturday's rainfall amounts here into the Northeast. 3/4 to 1 1/2, close to 2 inches in some of these areas. So unfortunately, it's looking like a rainy Saturday for the interior Northeast. Look at this all the way through next week. Florida is moistening up, and that is where models are hinting, if this does happen, the storm heads this way, we could see rainfall totals on the order of 6 inches to a foot. So watching this closely. And if we take a look at the GFS rainfall amounts here, comparing them to the European, look at Florida there. Look at the Outer Banks right around the middle of next week off the mid-Atlantic coast. Yeah, this could get interesting with the GFS. We'll have to keep an eye on this because, this is the 12Z. So this is with the hurricane further west. Look at that, 1 to 2 feet of rain. Now, I'll show you the latest run. This is why we have to pay very close attention to this tropical system, because now it has it exiting off the U.S. East Coast. Still plenty of rain for Florida. Look at that, 10 inches. Southeastern Louisiana, 10 inches. Miami right around 7 inches. So still a tremendous amount of tropical moisture. Look it up here in the Northeast as well with your Saturday storm, 1 to 2 inches. Before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love reading to your questions and comments and responding to them. And don't forget, subscribe, bell notification button. I just hit 20,000 subscribers. Thank you, everyone. And I am working on my winter 2025-26 outlook, so be sure to watch that in the next couple weeks when I get it out. Let's continue with more weather coverage. All right, so for our European run, the upper air pattern, there's that trough across the east kicking through the lakes and eventually to eastern Canada. Here's that ridge setting up here. So that builds westward. This could have implications for our potential tropical system. Here we go, another trough moving through around September 11th, ridge building in. This would tend to suggest that overall, the pattern favors a more westerly track with any tropical systems. In our NAO index here, we're just slightly negative. We are going to be going to neutral by the latter half of September. And looking at our MJO index, here we are right around phase 2. We're just going to meander between 1 and 2 for quite a while here. So maybe slightly active, but, just kind of in the middle range, so to speak. And we also have a new tropical storm out here in the Western Pacific. Peipa here is actually moving through Japan area, just skimming the southern Japanese islands. It looks like it's going to remain a tropical storm. You can see through the 5th into the 6th. It's really fast moving, thankfully, so not too much to speak of here. We have another area of low pressure moving through the northern Philippines, Taiwan. Look at South Korea, Seoul. Very dry through the next several days until about the 8th and 9th. You do get some rain moving through the South Korean peninsula here, all the way through southern and western Japan as we head through the 10th into the 11th. You get the idea. There is some tropical wave action out here, but it doesn't look like anything's really going to develop over the next couple weeks at least. Japan and South Korea drying out through the 14th and the 15th. You can see that next system plowing across northern Japan and the Japanese islands through the 16th into the 17th. That area of low pressure moves to the east. Do we have any chances of typhoons? It looks really eerily quiet out here. And looking at our Western Pacific rainfall amounts, northern Philippines getting hit here hard with about 200 to 300, maybe as much as 400 millimeters here. Look at Japan initially getting some rain, but then you go through some dry spells here. Right around September 11th, a little bit more rain through South Korea as well. Not too much to speak of here, other than a lot of synoptic systems to the north. We'll continue to watch these tropical waves heading into South China and the northern Philippines. You can see, Japan picking up anywhere from 1 to 200 millimeters, depending on where you are. The southern areas are the driest. Look at Seoul, South Korea, right around 100 millimeters. And looking at the Eastern Pacific here, yeah, we have Lorena here kicking up. That's going to be some tremendous moisture moving into Texas here throughout the weekend. So watch out for that. That's going to be quite a bit in the way of tropical moisture. So heavy rain across Texas here. That's going to be a big threat as we head through the 6th into the 7th. Just giving you a heads up there. And then look at this. This is Major Hurricane Kiko. This is going to be kicking up the surf. Look at this. Category 3 on the 7th. So this is going to come very close, if not over the Hawaiian Islands. This runs a little bit further to the north, but 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm bearing down on the Hawaiian Islands on September 9th. Look at that. Moving right through. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Impact will likely be the middle of next week. All right, so looking at our Canadian Synoptic weather flow. Yeah, that big low across Ontario, that's going to continue to wind up through the Canadian Maritimes and northern Quebec over the next couple days into the weekend. You can see that heavy rain, tropical moisture moving through Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here, and these areas of the Canadian Maritimes. Very active storm track for Ontario into Quebec here through the 10th. You can see high pressure building in behind it. We finally start to get evidence of a Pacific system trying to crash into British Columbia here. Also some beneficial rain for parts of Alberta. It's not going to be widespread, though, unfortunately. But here we go. Ahead of this high-pressure system, we've got Newfoundland here. We also got the Canadian Maritimes, another area of low pressure blasting up through. And another one through Hudson Bay, diving across northern parts of Quebec. We also have a strong system moving through Saskatchewan, Manitoba area. As we head through September 14th into the 15th, we might have some severe weather on the southern end of this, so watch out. Here's another Pacific system not making much headway into Western Canada. A drying trend looks to ensue, with the exception for New Brunswick. You know, all eyes are going to be on our potential hurricane out here, so it's bouncing back and forth. So we'll keep an eye on it here, but look at this. This is September 19th. Look at much of Canada. Very dry. And Canadian rainfall here. Yeah, it's mainly across eastern Canada. Look at that. Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, all these Canadian maritime areas. We do start to get the west coast, though, by around the 14th and 15th of September here. But here we are. Look at this. Yeah. Western British Columbia, some areas eclipsing 200 millimeters. Some of this may make it into Alberta here, but most of the heaviest will stay west of the Rocky Mountains. Look at here into Ontario and Quebec. Widespread swaths of 60 to 110 millimeters. Also getting clipped around here in New Brunswick, 45 to 90 millimeters on average. We take a look at our forecast temperatures over the next several days. So we get right on into Friday, September 5th here. Look at the disparity here, 90s versus 50s up here in the northern upper Midwest, in the northern plains. That is crazy. Look at the massive warmth out west and some temperate conditions up here, 70s and 80s throughout the lakes in the Northeast. Into Saturday, we spill those 60s across eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, New York. Look at the 90s all the way up to the nation's capital here. So we'll watch out for a big temperature disparity. You know there's a front in there. And look at this, 60s continuing to spill south and east here. We're going to continue to watch that because that is going to be the focal point for some fall-like temperatures continuing into the Northeast for Monday, September 8th. Into Tuesday, we do start to see evidence of a big warming trend back into the 70s, 80s here into the plains. And as we get into Wednesday, September 10th, look at this. Yeah, 70s up in the Northeast, plenty of 80s, and just a few 90s here across the western Gulf Coast. The extended forecast from hometown viewers, being into the Great Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. Look at this. Friday, we are mostly sunny. We'll head up towards the low 80s. It will be gusty winds, however. Winds gusting over 25 miles an hour at times. Unfortunately, Friday night and Saturday, the rain and the storms move back in. It's going to be mainly an all-day rain and storm event. Highs only reaching around 70 degrees with that rain-cooled air into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. We are clearing things out for some beautiful sunny skies and lower 70s with right around 40 to 45 for overnight's nice sleeping lows. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.